Welcome to Golden Bachelor. If you love celebrity news and real entertainment updates, you're in the right place. Joan Vasos never planned for her love life to become one of the most talked about stories among fans. She didn't step into this chapter looking for headlines, theories, or endless speculation. She stepped in with hope, and maybe just a little bit of guarded optimism. For a long time, Joan kept quiet. While fans debated, analyzed body language, and read between every social media line, Joan chose silence. Not because she had nothing to say, but because she was figuring out how she truly felt. Now, she's finally opening up. And what she's sharing is far more layered, emotional, and surprisingly relatable than anyone expected. From the outside, Joan and Chock seemed like an unlikely but charming match. He was confident, warm, and expressive. She was thoughtful, grounded, and emotionally intelligent. Together, they sparked curiosity almost instantly. People noticed the way Chock looked at Joan, like he was genuinely present, and they noticed the way Joan smiled around him, soft, relaxed, and real. Not the polite smile you give out of habit, but the kind that sneaks up on you when you're enjoying someone's company more than you planned. Still, as time passed, fans began asking questions. Was this romance as strong as it looked? Were they on the same page emotionally? Or was something happening behind the scenes? That's when Joan decided it was time to speak. She didn't come forward with drama or accusations. Instead, she spoke with honesty and a little humor. Because if there's one thing Joan knows how to do, it's handle emotional conversations with grace and a wink. She admitted that relationships later in life feel different. There's less fantasy, but more intention. Less rushing, more reflection. She joked that butterflies are great, but peace is better, and sometimes harder to recognize. According to Joan, her connection with Chock was real. It wasn't imagined, it wasn't performative, it was built on conversations, shared laughter, and moments that felt surprisingly normal in an otherwise very public setting. But real doesn't always mean forever. Joan explained that what many people don't see is the quiet part of relationships, the part where you ask yourself hard questions, not, do I like this person, but does this fit my life, and can this grow in the same direction? She confessed that she and Chock connected emotionally, but they also discovered differences in pacing. While one leaned toward moving forward with certainty, the other needed space to breathe, reflect, and feel grounded. And yes, she laughed as she said it, because sometimes the most awkward relationship truths are also the funniest. She joked about how people expect fireworks, but forget how exhausting fireworks can be. She said she's reached a point where consistency is romantic and feeling understood is exciting. That line alone sent fans into a frenzy. Some praised her maturity, others admitted they were sad but understood, and a few said it gave them hope that love doesn't have to be dramatic to be meaningful. As for Chock, Joan made it clear there's no bitterness, just gratitude for a connection that taught her something about herself, about what she wants, and about what she won't settle for anymore. She said this chapter didn't close her heart, it clarified it, and that might be the most romantic part of all. Joan isn't giving up on love, she's refining it. She's choosing honesty over illusion, peace over pressure, and joy over expectation. Whether her next chapter includes romance or not, one thing is certain. She's stepping forward with confidence, clarity, and a smile that suggests she knows exactly who she is. And fans, they're not disappointed, they're inspired. Because sometimes the most shocking truth about a relationship isn't that it ended, but that it helped someone grow. Now, we want to hear from you. Do you think Joan made the right choice? Do you believe love should feel calm or exciting? And do you think this is the end of her romantic journey or just the beginning? Share your thoughts and stay tuned because Joan Vasos' story
As the
is far
conversation
from over.
around Joan's words continued, something interesting happened. Fans didn't just react, they reflected. Joan's honesty opened a door many didn't realize they needed. Suddenly, her story wasn't just about one relationship, it became about timing, self-awareness, and the quiet courage it takes to walk away from something that almost fits. Joan admitted that in earlier chapters of her life, she might have tried harder to make things work. She would have ignored the small voice inside that said, "Slow down." But now that voice feels wiser, calmer, and much harder to ignore. She shared that her connection with Chock had moments of genuine joy, not the dramatic, sweeping kind, but the subtle kind. Shared jokes, comfortable silences, and smiles that arrived unexpectedly. She laughed, recalling moments where they'd talk about everyday things and suddenly realize how easy it felt to be understood. But she also acknowledged that ease alone isn't enough. There were moments when their emotional rhythms didn't quite match. One leaned into certainty, while the other leaned into reflection. Neither was wrong, they were simply different. And Joan emphasized that recognizing those differences early is a sign of growth, not failure. She joked that love at this stage feels less like fireworks and more like checking if someone understands your need for quiet mornings, comfortable shoes, and honest conversations. Fans couldn't help but laugh because it was painfully accurate. What stood out most was Joan's refusal to rewrite the story as a regret. She spoke about the connection with gratitude rather than disappointment. In her words, it was a reminder that emotional clarity is just as romantic as passion. Viewers noticed a confidence in her tone, a calmness that comes from knowing she didn't abandon herself to please an outcome. She chose alignment over expectation, and that choice felt empowering. Some fans wondered if there was ever a moment when Joan considered pushing past her doubts. She admitted there were times when she questioned herself, times when she thought, maybe I'm overthinking. But experience has taught her that ignoring intuition usually leads to confusion, not clarity. And that realization brought her peace. Joan shared that she's no longer interested in proving anything, to fans, to the public, or even to herself. She wants a connection that fits naturally into her life, not one she has to adjust herself to accommodate. She smiled as she said she's open to love, but only the kind that feels kind in return. That perspective resonated deeply. In a world obsessed with dramatic love stories, Joan offered something quieter and far more powerful. A reminder that romance doesn't always come with grand gestures. Sometimes it comes with understanding, with patience, with the freedom to be exactly who you are. As for what comes next, Joan didn't give concrete answers. She didn't tease future romances or hint at surprises. Instead, she spoke about enjoying where she is now, centered, content, and emotionally open. And perhaps that's why fans are still watching so closely. Because Joan's story isn't about finding someone at all costs. It's about knowing yourself well enough to recognize when something is right and when it's simply a beautiful lesson. Her journey reminds us that love doesn't always end in heartbreak. Sometimes it ends in clarity. And clarity, it turns out, can be just as exciting as romance. Thanks for watching Golden Bachelor. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next big story.